The Journey Back to the Hills. Come and listen to a story about a man named Jed. He was a poor mountaineer who barely kept his family fed through his hard work and dedication. And then one day, he was shooting at some food to provide for his kinfolk. While he was hunting, up through the ground come a bubbling crude
Oil, that is.
Some people call it black gold or Texas tea. Well, the first thing you know, old Jed is a millionaire. The kinfolk gathered around and said that Jed must move away from there. They said that California is the place he ought to be. So they loaded up the truck and they moved to Beverly Hills, that is. They found themselves among swimming pools and movie stars. They became known as the Beverly Hillbillies. The morning started with a great deal of excitement in the mansion. Granny was convinced that a mountain lion was at Jethro. She turned to Jed and said that if he were to tell her that Jethro had had a mountain lion, she would tell him it is true. She had sent Jethro to the roof cellar. And when he did not come back, she went to see what was keeping him. There stood a great big mountain lion, licking his chops. She believed he had her baby boy right out from under his arm. Jed asked if the truck was gone. Granny replied that mountain lions do not eat trucks because they are flesh eaters. Jed knew that, but he figured if the truck was gone, that might tell them what happened to Jethro. Granny insisted she told him what happened. She said he was bit by a mountain lion in the roof cellar. She asked if Jed was going to get his gun and shoot him before he eats the rest of the family. Jed noted that it was kind of dark in that roof cellar and suggested what she had seen might not have been a mountain lion at all. Granny insisted she had seen him and that there was a wild violet in the roof cellar. Jed reminded her that they had been out there in Beverly Hills for going on 8 years. He said the wildest thing they had seen yet was that movie star who lived down the street. Granny asked which one, and Jed described the one with the long blonde hair who wears them wild clothes and jewelry and walks with a wiggle. Granny knew the fellow he meant, but she stayed firm. She told him there was a mountain lion in her roof cellar and asked if he was going to shoot him or if she had to do it herself. Jed said that as quick as he had his cereal, he would take a look. Granny was shocked. She asked how he could sit there eating cereal at a time like this. Jed admitted it was not easy. Granny lamented that a varmint was eating his kinfolks and Jethro. Then she wondered where Ellie was, thinking maybe the mountain lion ate her too. Jed explained he had sent Ellie out to get the morning mail and told Granny to sit down and get a hold of herself. Ellie came in with the mail and greeted her father. Jed thanked her, and Granny immediately told Ellie to run and fetch her father's gun because he was going to shoot that mountain lion in the roof cellar. Ellie replied that she was not going to shoot Herman. Granny was confused by the name Herman. Ellie explained she got him yesterday at the animal farm and he was her new pet. Granny called him a strange pet and claimed he ate her cousin Jethro. Ellie insisted Herman would not do that. Granny said he did and that her father was fixing to shoot him. Ellie pleaded with her father not to do it. Jed told her to do what she had to do, but kinfolks come ahead of Herman. Ellie asked if he was really going to do it, and Jed realized the only thing he was not going to do for sure was eat his cereal. He decided to give it to Herman because the creature loved it. He called for Herman to come get his breakfast. Granny protested, saying she would bring no man-eating beast in there. Ellie assured her there was no man-eating beast and told Granny to take her just this time as a kid. Granny told them to get that vicious killer out of her kitchen. Ellie agreed and told Herman they had better skirt. Granny watched them leave and insisted she had seen a man-eating beast. Jed agreed and said if she would fetch him another bowl, she would see a man eating cereal. Jed noticed that somebody had sent them the latest copy of the Silver Dollar City News. He did not know who sent it, but he saw some big news. He told Granny that Alverna Bradshaw's daughter was getting married. Granny asked if he meant Big Mouth Bradshaw, and Jed confirmed it. Granny could not believe that the homiest girl in the hills had got herself a fellow. Jed said it seemed that way, and it was there in black and white. Granny was deeply troubled. She asked Jed if he realized what this meant. Jed joked that it meant he was not going to eat his cereal. Granny told him he had to get Ellie Mae married right away. The reason was that Big Mouth Bradshaw was 2 days younger than Ellie. If she got married before Jed's daughter, Granny felt they would be disgraced. Jed did not think so, but Granny insisted Ellie would die of shame, and even Jethro, a boy with a lot of pride, might leave home. Jed joked that Jethro would not leave as long as they had victuals there. Granny said it was no joking matter. She insisted they had to take Ellie back to the hills and get her married right away, because that is where the men are the marrying kind. Jed wanted to talk about it after breakfast because he was powerful hungry, but Granny said they had to settle the matter right now. Jed agreed and told her to go next door and ask Mr. Drysdale if he would keep an eye on the place if they went back. Jethro came in and Jed offered him some milk. Jethro thanked his Uncle Jed. Jed asked where he had been, and Jethro said he had been to college. He explained it was his first day, and he had fallen in with a college crowd that made him realize how much he had been missing. Even though he graduated 6th grade, he felt there was more he could learn. Jed was proud of him. Jethro said it was a real nice bunch of fellows and they were very smart. Jed asked if any of them were unmarried. Jethro said all of them were as far as he knew. Jed asked if he could fetch home some of those college fellows to introduce to Ellie. Jethro promised to fetch a whole bunch of them, so she could take her pick. Jed thought that would be just dandy and finished his cereal, noting there was nothing like a bowl of cereal. Meanwhile, Milburn Drysdale was in his office handling massive financial deals. He was talking to London about the gold market and ordering $5 million in bullion. He spoke to his associates about investing $50 million in a Greek shipping deal and $30 million for a Dutch oil syndicate. Miss Jane Hathaway came in and told him that the family was going on a trip and wanted him to keep an eye on the house and take care of Ellie's critters. Mr. Drysdale initially refused, saying he was a bank president and an international financier, not a caretaker or a zookeeper. He told Miss Jane to tell Granny that. Miss Jane asked why he did not tell her himself. Mr. Drysdale admitted he could not afford to argue with them because the $85 million he was investing was actually their money. Granny arrived and asked if Miss Jane told him the news. Mr. Drysdale asked if they were going to Palm Springs, but Granny said they were going to God's country, back home to the hills to get Ellie May a husband. Mr. Drysdale tried to say there were plenty of eligible men there, but Granny dismissed his efforts from the last 7 years. She said they would be leaving as soon as the truck was loaded and asked him to fetch all their money. Mr. Drysdale was panicked, realizing that if they took their $85 million out of his bank, he would be ruined. He tried to think of a plan, but Granny was set on leaving. In a moment of desperation, Mr. Drysdale even thought about puncturing the tires on their truck so they could not leave, as it would take 3 weeks to get new ones from the catalog. Back at the house, Jed was still eating cereal. Granny told him to make that his last bowl and get packed. Jed suggested they might not have to go back to the hills because Jethro was fetching over a covey of college fellows for Ellie. Granny was skeptical, saying Jed had been looking for 7 years and only had an old maid daughter to show for it. Jed wanted to keep an open mind and let Ellie meet the boys. Granny agreed, but said as quick as she met them, they would head for the hills. Jethro arrived with his college friends. Jed noted it was a gloomy place. One student named Mitch was introduced. He had been to 12 colleges. Jed asked what he studied, but Jethro explained they do not study. They protest everything. They march up and down with signs. Jed asked if they were learning anything, and Mitch said he was carrying 3 subjects, down with the dean, down with the faculty, and down with the regents. He said he was part of the academic revolution and was fighting for intellectual freedom. He claimed he had solved his identity problem and knew where he was going, though he did not know what his next task was yet, because they had not told him. Ellie May came in wearing what she called groovy threads from a swap shop. She had been in a protest march and carried a sign that said, "Do not draft me." Granny was not impressed. She told Ellie they were going back home to the hills so she could beat Big Mouth Bradshaw to the altar. Jethro, however, announced he was not going back. He wanted to stay and pursue his education to become a college graduate with a white-collar job. He did not want to work with his hands anymore. Mr. Drysdale, hoping to keep the family and their money in town, supported Jethro's ambition. Jed decided that if Jethro wanted to stay, they would leave him with Mr. Drysdale. He asked Miss Jane to drive the rest of them to the airport so they could get on a plane to go home. Mr. Drysdale was caught in his own plan, as Jethro began calling him Dad and talking about his great potential while looking for something to eat. The family prepared for their journey, leaving the city behind for the familiar comforts of the hills.